So for our next presentation in this section, we are going to have Sabrina Devereaux talk to us about the governance of small-scale fisheries in the Antongil Bay.
Hello, everybody. My name is Sabrina Devereaux. In this past summer, I had the opportunity to research management efforts to combat overfishing in 5 different villages in Madagascar's Antongil Bay. I embarked on this research in part to fill an apparent policy gap in current literature, as well as to inform future policy development in the region. Today, I will briefly share an overview of my research as well as my findings. Now, you might be wondering, how important could the small-scale, traditional, dugout canoe fisheries of Madagascar really be for human health? Well, in fact, small-scale fisheries account for 70% of the country's total catch production, employing thousands of fishermen surrounding Antongil Bay. Further, in this region in particular, 100% of small-scale catch is consumed locally, providing 99% of animal-derived protein in rural coastal diets. Therefore, the health of local fisheries is intrinsically linked with the health of local human populations. And with 50% of children in Madagascar suffering from chronic malnutrition, catch declines can result in immense human health consequences. Luckily, researchers, NGOs, and government officials have all grown increasingly aware of the importance of small-scale fisheries, and a number of management regimes have been developed to help to ensure the long-term sustainability of Antongil Bay's marine resources. However, though quite a bit of research has been conducted on the obstacle that the industry faces, few studies have analyzed the successes of current regulations. In order to fill this information gap, I developed a set of fisher-specific questions in collaboration with the Wildlife Conservation Society and experts in the field. I had the opportunity to execute this survey in 5 different villages located along Madagascar's Antongil Bay. Over the course of 12 weeks spent in-country, I spoke with 90 fishermen, as well as 10 key informants, which included government officials, local leaders, and experts from NGOs. Through my survey, I hope to determine to what extent management efforts impact local life and ecosystem health. I also wanted to better understand how the structure and implementation of management influenced its impact. The 5 villages in which I executed my survey are governed by 3 different forms of management. Marufutitra is located on the Tempulu Marine National Park, which was established by the Madagascar National Parks nonprofit in collaboration with the Malagasy government. The park consists of a no-take area core, which is surrounded by a restricted use take zone, in which only locals from Marufutitra are allowed to catch fish. Compensation is provided by local officials in return for compliance with gear and behavioral restrictions. Maintambatu and Rantuheli both possess locally managed marine areas. The management of these local reserves is facilitated by the Wildlife Conservation Society, with the support of the Malagasy government. The establishment of a no-take area is paired with species-specific bans and gear restrictions, which are incorporated into the village's traditional rule structure, called DINA. Monitoring and enforcement is conducted by local citizens. Lastly, Mbudipaka and Yarika are governed by traditional management, which refers to the locally established DINA as well as traditional social and cultural taboos, known as FADI. After conducting my survey, it became immediately clear that management has a significant impact on local ecosystems and life. This graph depicts a change in local fish abundance over the past 5 years as reported by local fishermen. As you can see, the only villages in which fishermen reported an increase in the abundance of local fish were the 3 villages with established management regimes. Further, how regulations are structured and implemented also appears to be influential. This graph shows how local fishermen perceive the impact of management on their respective communities. As you can see, the locally managed marine reserves in Maintambatu and Rantuheli are perceived by local fishermen much better than the marine protected area located in Marufutitra. These differing perceptions can influence the long-term success of regulations and compliance. These 2 findings raise a third question. What factors contribute to the success of small-scale fisheries management in rural Madagascar? I unfortunately don't have time to explain the full details of my analysis within the scope of this presentation, but in short, I believe in the importance of incentives for compliance. More specifically, rules that present fishermen with economic, social, or political incentives to comply are likely to be more effective than rules that rely on voluntary compliance by locals based on a conservation-based or ecological understanding of local resources. In designing future policies, the Malagasy government would greatly benefit from viewing regulations from the perspective of local stakeholders. This research would not have been possible without the help of so many different people, both here and in Madagascar. I'd also like to thank you all for your time and attention, and please do not hesitate to reach out to me with any questions or comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Sabrina. That was great.